Chris, sorry about that, man. I don't know what happened on the other deal.
No problem at all. It's always
Well,
got to backfire on us somewhere, right?
it did. I just thought you were trying to show me up as you are on the road to rock here in Kansas City, defending Super Bowl champions 2 times. I know.
I,
I
I
thought maybe you were just not up for it, talking to a Kansas City guy here.
no, always up front.
You're from Wisconsin, right? Are you a Packers fan?
Second half of that question is a yes. But I went to college in Wisconsin. I went to college in Madison, UW in Milwaukee, and in Madison too.
Oh man, what a great campus, Madison University of Wisconsin. What a great athletics department. It's like seems like they're always in the Rose Bowl and the Elite Eight in basketball, just like an all around great.
Yeah, hockey too.
What a great play. I'm a big fan of that area. The Chiefs actually play at Green Bay this year. Got to make the trip. Never been to Lambeau before. So
Oh yeah, you got to go.
I see a story recently where you that this past month Jim Brown passed away, that you had met Jim Brown at one point?
Yes, yeah, I did. The first summer I moved to Los Angeles would have been 1985. I was working in a photo development store down on Flores in Santa Monica, and it was in the same location as a dry cleaners, like where everybody came. So like my first month, I saw Bruce Willis, Johnny Olson from The Price is Right, Gene Hackman and his wife. I saw Gene Simmons and Shannon. I saw Jeff Beck and Ronnie Wood. And then one day I look over and there's Jim Brown, and I'm like, wow, okay, I gotta go say something, And I mean, I got hair to my elbow and stuff, and I just come strolling up and, hey Jim, how are you? Always admire you. And he's just kind of like, what in the hell? I could see the look on his face, like, what the hell is going on here? He shook my hand. He said, thank you, brother. And that's all I needed to hear. I was like, cool. Let him alone and went back to my job.
I always say, and of course, this is an era before my time, but he's, as far as on film, what I've watched, what I've researched, just seeing how larger than life he became. Like if I'm putting together a team and I'm picking running back, I'm going with Jim Brown in NFL history. And he retired too young. He was not even 30 years old yet, or right at 30. So
right.
We missed out on some great years, similar to Barry Sanders. So I know that's what our listeners wanted to hear us talk about today, Chris, is sports. And it's my fault because I go down that rabbit hole. I do sports as well a lot. So
yeah, me too, man.
Here we are.
I was a jock. I mean, that's, my cousin played in the NFL. My uncle was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So yeah, I was a jock first, big time.
That's amazing. Who's your cousin? Who do you play for?
My cousin Rob Kelly, he played for the Ohio State team that was a championship, 96 or 97, and then he was drafted by Ditka on the Saints, and then he ended up with the Patriots. So
I know that Ohio State team really well. Andy Katzenmeyer was that.
Eddie George,
Cardi Rambo, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Look at this. Like it's always cool making connections beyond the realm of music. So yeah. I guess that makes you kind of a Renaissance man, Chris. You're like, you kind of do it all.
Try to, it's. I think I just get bored easily. So I'm like, let me go try this. Let me try that. Chasing the dopamine.
Well, yes, and that is ever a challenge for people like us. But one thing that will not make you chase dopamine, because it will inject it right into your veins, is the new Kinell album, Crash, Burn, Rebirth.
Thank you.
It is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Just kind of got done going through all of it. Obviously, when you look at this and you look at what this is, just take the lyric video, Take It All is out now. It came out a few weeks ago.
Yep.
That song right there, I mean, it totally encompasses, I think, what you guys were going for. And it exceeded my expectations when I heard what this project was. And now hearing the music, it's exceeded my expectations. So
awesome.
You got that victory going here. That's it's very good. The video itself, man, very Braveheart-esque, the lyric video.
Yeah. Phil Verone, who was our drummer, of course, in Saigon Kick, is doing video editing now, to complement his many interests. And he also did the one for What Might Have Been. It's on both of them are on YouTube. And he said, for What Might Have Been, I had a definite idea what I wanted about, but for Take It All, I was like, the only thing I really thought of writing it was like someone like Chris Jericho coming down the ramp, into the ring. And I was like, and then he's like, nah, I can't really, you can give me something more than that. I was like, how about we go medieval? And he's like, gotcha. Then he came back with like a rough cut. And I was like, just go. You got it. Perfect. Love it.
Now that you say that, though, I'm going to forever wonder what a video could have been, like a pro wrestling intro. That would work in a definite way. So, and I know Chris Jericho. I could have made that happen.
Yeah, me too. I should have called him. Yeah, I know. But it's time. I know where he is.
I just saw Fozzy and Ugly Kid Joe a few weeks ago. What a great tour that
Oh,
was.
wow, that's a good
Yeah,
bill.
really good bill. Really
Yeah.
cool. So this album's been out for what, about a month now? It came out in May.
Yep. Yep.
And it is like when you hear about what this is, and I got to ask first, has there ever been a project like this where, okay, not a bunch of, fans of a certain band get together and maybe do a tribute album or record songs,
Right. Right.
like an
One or
album
two.
that's in the vein of a band that you like, that's almost as if what that band would have done if they were
Right.
recording an album today. That was a
Right.
mouthful, but has a band ever attempted this before?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think the two that jumped in front of my head are XTC. Andy Parcher did an album called Dukes of the Stratosphere, which is very Beach Boys and Beatlesque. I don't think he was specifically chasing one band. And then there was Probot, Dave Grohl, which was like a bunch of bands, but it was the same kind of idea. It was tribute to those bands that he loved. This one, yeah, you're right. I went full on. Let's make the whole thing one band. Thin Lizzy.
Well, the name Kinell,
Yeah.
it's great. And I've, for those who aren't familiar with the story, it kind of goes with this this sort of like nomenclature, this like British Cockney kind of
Right.
lexicon that can, and I'll tell you, and I got your next band for you too, while we're on the subject, is an Iron Maiden album, tribute album, that's called Whale Oil Beef Hooked.
Yeah. Kevin Beamish, our producer on the Cold Sweat record, loved that phrase. I think that might have been the name of one of his LLCs. Yeah, Whale Oil Beef Hooked. Yes.
I remember Steve Harris used to wear that shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm like slow to this kind of stuff. My brain only works in certain ways. I have to like really zone in and be like, oh my God, I get it. What the hell's that shirt? And kind of the same here with Kinell.
Yes.
It makes total sense that once you hear and think about the idea of maybe a person of British persuasion getting, injuring themselves or something, and what they might say.
Yeah, it usually comes with a toe stub of some sort. Yeah.
Right.
Or slamming your finger in a door, or you're changing your guitar strings and just pokes it right in, and immediately have blood right on your fingertip. Like, you got to give a diabetes test. Yeah.
And
First thing
you sort of leave off syllables, and you leave off.
Right. Yeah.
And it just devolves to Kinell.
That's right. Say it around the children. Yeah.
I love the album cover. It gives you this real like Celtic kind of like almost, I don't know, something like the Wicker Man kind of a vibe, where it's almost like kind of pagan looking.
Oh yeah.
So it gives you that vibe to it. And I think that adds a lot, because I'm a visual person. I'm a visual learner, Chris. My uncle showed me a Kiss album, Destroyer, whenever I was a kid. And I go, I don't know what the hell that is, but I just want that.
It looks cool. Yeah.
That's how important that is. And it really does. It really looks good.
Yeah. But what is the old expression, especially in this business? People hear with their eyes,
Yeah. And it's true. And this, I think that really ties in well. And it does. It gives me like a Wicker Man. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Wicker Man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've seen the first one. They did another one about 5-6 years ago, I think.
That is a film that we do not speak of. It is
right.
It is unspeakably bad, so
Yeah.
much so that it has actually got a cult following of its own.
Right. It's like National Lampoon's European Vacation. You talk about the first one, you talk about Christmas. You don't really mention the European one.
You're so right. And I agree with that. I was just talking about that the other day. So this album, and I want to make sure that people know where they can go get it. The link that I have where you can go purchase it is kinellband.bandcamp.com.
Yep.
It's Crash Burn Rebirth.
Yep.
It's right there. You can preview the songs right there. To me, this is great. You can preview it all right there. You can buy it right there. The dual guitars, the sound in and of itself, the production, it's actually blown me away. So just kind of talk about the genesis of this project, kind of your brainchild, putting it together, the people that you worked on it with, and just sort of how you made it come to fruition.
The idea was at the time, what I did before I kind of all my bands reunited was I worked in music for film and TV and promos and radio and theatrical trailers. So one day I said to Mark Danzeisen, who was the drummer in River Dogs and Little Caesar, and we have very similar backgrounds. I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this kind of thing that's very Thin Lizzy like, which fits his drum style because he's very kind of jazzy R&B at his heart. And Brian Downey's drumming is a lot like that. So the first song I threw at him was Easy Come and Easy Go. And I didn't have to tell him to do anything. He just played it exactly how I wanted it. Right, boom. I was like, perfect. Then we did What Might Have Been. He did. All I told him was, okay, think of the middle of a Bad Reputation where they kind of break it down and there's congas and stuff. He's like, okay, boom, got it. So from those two, I went, all right, let's keep this going. So what's the recipe here? You got to have guitar harmonies, right? No doubt. You got to have a bass and drum rhythm section that's kind of rock, but almost kind of R&B-ish and funk and jazzy. Brian Downey's a very jazzy drummer. And then it was, okay, songs have to typically have a story with a big chorus. They all have to be catchy, and those guitar leads have to be catchy too. They can't just be wanking. So you got to kind of simplify it. You can't be, is this a Phrygian mode I can put over this chord? No, it has to be kind of pentatonic, nice, almost a whistle lead, like an Ace Frehley or Mick Mars lead, where they're just so catchy. They're part of the song. They're a hook. And then it was, okay, got all that. Now don't sing like Phil Lynott, sing like yourself. So that was the last part of the puzzle. Well,
I appreciate the way you just said that, because if somebody asked me to like describe what I like about Thin Lizzy or just the band itself, I'm going to need to be able to pull all that out at some point to feed to people. So I'm going to have this on repeat, because it's a band that's hard to explain. There's something about there's a lore about Thin Lizzy that, like, growing up, like I mean, I knew all these bands, and mostly American bands, but Kiss and a million, but then this band that's got, Phil Lynott, and it's like, you just see this face and you know that he's no longer with us, he's passed away. And these songs, then I hear, learn like Jailbreak. Oh my God, they sing The Boys Are Back in Town. And you put all this stuff together, and it's like, why does Thin Lizzy exist in such a microcosm here in America, while worldwide,
they're huge,
so revered?
Absolutely. I think part of that was, they didn't get very good tours, for some of the records. They were the guitar switcheroos. They always seem to be having with Brian Robertson in, Gary Moore in. Okay, they're both out, and now we get Snowy White. Okay, Snowy's out. Now we get John Sykes. So there was a time there where they were a little uneven, but yeah, they would always just tear up Europe. And everyone thinks now it's like, they do. We played a Thin Lizzy gig. I had a band called and still have called the Trouble Boys, and we did a show on St. Pat's Day. And we do the whole set, and everyone, yeah, Jailbreak, they got that one. Okay, Boys Are Back in Town, yeah, that one. And then they're like, you did that Metallica song. I'm like, no. In the jar. Yeah. I'm like, no. That's an old traditional Irish song that Thin Lizzy did, but hey, thanks for liking it, But that's kind of what America thinks is Thin Lizzy, is those three songs. Right. And that's if they know the Metallica song is Thin Lizzy one, yeah.
Yeah, and so maybe it's kind of an advantage for Kinell to be able to do this, and it's uniquely yours, and there's no questioning that. So that it exists in sort of this way that it's almost indescribable for me, because, man, I guess growing up I didn't really know what I was hearing, but like when you hear the double guitar tone, I mean, there's only a few bands that were able to perfect it. One of which being Judas Priest, who I'm a huge fan of to this day.
Maiden.
Of course, Maiden. Now they have three. Now bands start having three. And I got to ask you, Alice Cooper does it. Maiden does it. The three, it sort of messes with me a little bit, especially because, like, I don't really know who's playing what a lot of the times. And there seems to be no rhyme or reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I saw Maiden on the Ed Hunter tour. That was the last time I saw them. And they had just pulled Adrian back in.
Right.
And I was just ecstatic. But yeah, it does seem like they've kind of all borrowed from the Skinner Outlaws, book of how many guitar players can we use here? Which I'm great with. I mean, I have no problem with. And I think the other band that, and they kind of dropped it after this record, but the other band that was great at it was Def Leppard. Those first two records, especially High and Dry, are way Thin Lizzy. I mean, way Thin Lizzy. Then they kind of, developed this, okay, we're going to be Def Leppard. We're going to be kind of poppy and slick and all this. And it's their own thing. But like High and Dry is a really great guitar record. Really great guitar record.
100%. I'm glad you brought that up.
But they only have two.
Agree. And it, like, to your point. I mean, now, Yannick being an Iron Maiden, I absolutely can't imagine what it would look like without it. But then Judas Priest was going to go on tour like a year ago without.
I saw that
two guitarists, and the fans just revolted.
I like, okay, right. Richie's good, okay, but
he's great.
Not that good.
Yeah,
nobody's that good. Oh yeah, and I was like, well, what are you gonna do? Play the tracks? Or I mean, what happened? And then all of a sudden, we were just kidding. He's back.
Yeah, it's just like there's a.
Pay no attention to that man behind the steel-studded curtain, right? Just we were just kidding.
Yeah, and I'm glad they were. And Richie was just on this show like a few weeks ago, so yes, glad that we didn't have to bring up to him. What did you go through with that?
What were we thinking, guys? Was that too much bourbon one night? What happened? Who got mad at who in the hotel lobby? All right, that's what I want to know. Fuck it, you're the fucking band.
There's got to be a great story to it, and I want to know what it was.
Yeah, on the way in and the way out. It's like, okay, what happened? How do you get kicked out? And then how do you get? Because they didn't get a different guy. They just pulled Andy.
They already
back
had
in.
Andy Sneap,
Right?
right? Yeah.
They already had Andy.
Here's what I'll say. I love Judas Priest and I love Iron Maiden. I will say that, and I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not saying that I'm aware, but it seems to me that Maiden's management has put them in the exact right positions for every step of the way since really the Ed Hunter reunion. And Judas Priest have been hit and miss since Halford came back.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
In the gigs and everything.
And part of that is, and no offense to Halford, who I love, but Dickinson can still bring it. Halford, he just can't sing like he used to. I mean, and I love him, and occasionally he'll blast at a high note, but Dickinson sounds like Bruce Dickinson. He still sounds amazing. So,
and they've created this.
Maiden's got a leg up too on that.
They do, and just the imagery they've created. I mean, I know Hot Topics aren't really even around anymore, but like 10 years ago, you go into Hot Topic and you see these Iron Maiden. It's like, I don't know what that is, but like that's awesome. So
I gotta have that. Yeah.
So I digress. Maiden's actually, oh my gosh, on this tour they're doing like Stranger in a Strange Land, and I think opening up with Caught Somewhere in Time.
Oh, cool. Cool.
I'm a fan of that album. I'm a fan. I'm sorry. Like, I love Somewhere in Time. Great album.
I think it's a great record. Yeah. I love that one. Wasted Years is on that record. What else is on that record?
Yeah, Alexander the Great, they're playing.
Right.
Which
That's
is
right.
Say Deja Vu, of course. Like,
yeah. That's a good record.
We digress. But okay, so for Kinell, where does this where do you foresee? I mean, this album's out. You've got some videos. I mean, this is probably unfair of me to ask. Like, in a perfect world, like, what's next? I mean, do you play some shows? Like, what do you want to do?
Shows are always a possibility. I think the biggest thing in front of us, we've got to literally let people know what we're doing, because there's so much out there. I mean, it's just, you could have the best album in the world. If people don't know where to get it or how to, even what it's like, never mind where to get it. And I think what we're doing is a pretty interesting niche, but we're going to have to fight for our attention, which is okay. I'm kind of used to that, but it's a matter of, we got to let people know first and just build. And because we've been asked, you guys going to tour? I'm like, on what? We got one record, if someone asks us to do a show, okay, cool. We've talked about doing a streaming event, so that's easy. Then we get everybody in one room and go talk about that. But the idea is keep the interest growing so that we can just keep doing records. We're literally finishing up the drum tracks for the second record this week. So, and then there's a third record that's about halfway written. So it's the idea is just create enough of a base to be able to just keep it going.
Tremendous. That's, to talk about working ahead. That is, I guess you're sort of an overachiever at this point, Chris. Let's just be honest. Like that's amazing, because I can't imagine what could come next, because I think this is just a tremendous effort. I love, right now, Spatial Survival is one that like really hit me.
Cool.
As one that's like that just, and it seems like each song you're just like bludgeoned over the head with guitars, in the intros. I mean, but that one really stuck out. And obviously Forever After has a really good kind of mid-tempo-y vibe. So to me, this is something that demands attention, and I sure hope it gets it, and it deserves that.
Thank you. Yeah, to your points there, Forever After, that one and Spatial Survival, they're both about stuff in the movies or TV. So Spatial Survival is The Mandalorian, and then Forever After is John Wick, and Kingpin is about your basic two guys who are fighting it out in the Boston crime scene. The Departed. Okay, got it. No. Yeah, right, exactly. So I mean, the idea is, again, back to the template. How many things can you tie together in a story? Engage the listener. I mean, I'm not one who can come up with some cool catchphrases like David Lee Roth and make it sound like a song. I've got to kind of build it. Okay, there's a character and he does this, and this guy comes over here and ruins this, or this, guy girl stuff, but make it interesting. On the next record, there's two songs that I called just film noirs, film noir 1 and 2, because it was about she done him wrong kind of stuff, but he gets his revenge, and then they're both in trouble. So that sort of breadth of material is one of the main goals I'm trying to hit, because if you can keep doing that, you never run out. There's always something to sing about.
Absolutely true. And I got to ask you about Cold Sweat, because you guys have been back together doing some shows. Yeah. Let me ask you this: in 1995, would you have had Cold Sweats playing on a Monsters of Rock cruise, playing Let's Make Love Tonight? Would that have been on your bingo card back in 1995?
No, that would have been no. I'm not even a bingo card on the floor underneath my chair. That was, I mean, people always ask what happened with Cold Sweat, and part of it was the shift in tastes, which was okay with me because I loved Nirvana. I thought Nirvana was a great band. I thought the songs were great. We'd all kind of had our time, but the thing is, the band didn't really break up in the typical sense of bands like I hate you, no, I hate you more, back and forth. It just kind of fizzled, and we all just kind of went, well, there's no light on the campfire here, so let's all just kind of wander off. So nobody had any beef with anybody else. So when it came time to reconvene, it was just, let's go, let's do it, flick a switch, and we picked right back up. It was crazy.
It's always been a record I'm so glad that I was able to discover, because like whenever I'm 39, so like when I'm coming up trying to pay my dues and learn about all the great bands, I'm like, okay, I got Motley, I got Wasp, I got Maiden, I know Kiss, and I'm like, then I started finding like Babylon AD, bands that came to Wild Side, that came to the dance a little later, Danger and Cold Sweat, like, so I think that there's a whole genre that's just like from like 1989 to 1992, Firehouse, some of those that kind of exist in a different realm to me, and it's always like I always wonder what if on a lot of those bands, because like you said, it was just over so quickly.
Oh yeah, well, like the guys in Firehouse and the guys in Danger are just, they're monster players. I mean, it just kind of dismisses it because everyone's good looking and looked cool. No, especially Danger, those guys are just unreal. And the guys in at Firehouse are also incredible. You're right. There's a lot of bands that just kind of, just as the doors close and they just kind of get, and then once you're radioactive in that business, style wise, it's so hard to get back in. So it's like if a movie's at the wrong time and the movie doesn't do well, you don't punish the actors, but the music business punishes the bands. To be sure. Yeah.
Never thought of it that way. And Saigon Kick suffered from that a bit, because you came in, I think in 92 as the band was experiencing success, right in the middle, thick of it.
Yeah.
And to this day, what's going on in that camp right now?
Jason's out doing his own shows, and he's doing the stuff with Jeff Soto. And I live in Charleston, South Carolina, so they played a little bit south of me. So I went down and we played a couple songs of the show. So the Water record just had its 30th. It will have its 30th anniversary in September.
Yep.
And we released the, I like to say re-release, but we didn't release it on vinyl the first time, through Real Gone, who did an amazing job taking like a CD and making that into an album as far as artwork and presentation. And they just killed it, and it looks awesome and it sounds awesome. So we're ecstatic with that.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm pulling this literally out of my just ass here, but I gotta, so I don't have like the research in front of me or know specifics. I should know this, but there was like a VH1 Where Are They Now, like 20 years ago.
Yep.
Okay, that Saigon Kick was on. Were you involved with that?
I was very, very tangentially. The reason being is we had Hurricane Floyd who came here when I was supposed to do my filming. So the crew from Atlanta like got sent somewhere else. So I never did any of this. I was supposed to do a story and an interview and all that stuff. And they ended up showing a picture of me standing in a Balinese rice field. So I was like, all right.
Where are they now? Chris McLernon in a rice field.
Yeah, I'm in Bali. Yeah. So, it was, that's the only reason I wasn't there.
It's like I have a very vague memory of that, like a very vague memory. And I'm like, I couldn't find it in a real quick Google search. I couldn't find the show or the episode. So I'm like, I know it was, but
yeah, that would have been fun to be there for two reasons. One, I love those guys. It's always fun hanging out. But two, I think they sprung Tom DeFile's appearance on the band. So Tom had been left right after the first record, and it would just been interesting. I mean, we all met before. It's not like, oh my God, who's this guy? We're gonna have conflict. No problem at all. But it would have been interesting to have all of us sitting there at the same time. It's like having a family dinner and like everybody's who's divorced shows up at the table. Right. How's this gonna go? Somebody get the wine going fast here. It's gonna get interesting.
Well, like back in that time, like that, it's crazy to think now, but VH1, the Behind the Musics and all those shows were like a huge indoctrination for a lot of people into the bands, and like they do like top 40 hair bands and all these things. And it was just like, I ate it up. And I remember there was like a scene, or I think they did Kicks, and like Brian Forsyth was like up on a, like on a billboard or something. And it was just
That's right. It's billboards. That's right. He's doing billboards. Yeah. Meanwhile, yeah, 20 years later, they're doing their last show at the end of this year.
Right, they are. And it blew me away because I was one of those people that thought like if you had a song on MTV, you were a gazillionaire.
Oh, rolling in it, man. Yeah.
Right?
There
was a perception of that like
absolutely. It is, as I always say, it is a lot easier to be famous than rich in this business. It is definitely the myth that, like you said, you get signed and, oh yeah, well, I just bought my house in Bel Air and, I'll see you later. I got to go talk to Woody Harrelson. And it's not
good example.
Yeah, it's just not that way at all. You got, it's like any other job. It's just everyone sees more of your job that you're doing in public because you're struggling and working. Whereas, if I was the manager at a Men's Warehouse, you wouldn't see me struggling. You just see me going to work. No one knows what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make a buck here. But our make a buck means playing songs in front of people and traveling around the world and paying back the record company.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole nother podcast for another day.
Sure is.
You got to sell me on this because this is I consider myself a pretty well-traveled person. I've been almost every state, certainly South Carolina, but I've never been to Charleston. And I have a friend that lives there, and I'm told like I love like Old South. I love the imagery in that. So I'm told that like I'm totally missing out, and I'm gonna have to make it.
Charleston's absolutely beautiful. It absolutely is. The band came here for one of the reunions. Saigon did, and I was walking downtown with Matt. And he was just like, but this is beautiful. I've never seen anything like this. And I think the closest you can get to Charleston would be Old Town in Sweden, in Stockholm,
weird.
Sweden. But if you've seen like The Patriot with Mel Gibson,
sure.
That was filmed here. But we have, cobblestone streets, and we have those buildings that have been up here since God knows when, and it survived who knows how many hurricanes. And it's astounding. I love it here. Absolutely love it. And the people are great. You get so used to being treated politely, and then you start acting politely to other people, and all of a sudden everyone's got manners, and who knew, we get along.
I feel like that the cliche is that like I guess I shouldn't be familiar with this, but like the author Nicholas Sparks, a lot of his work derives from like Charleston area, and like you get this image in the film adaptations of like the rich aristocratic dad that doesn't want his daughter to go off with some poor guy that she's met and just paying him, usually a musician, paying him off. I'll give you every car I have, and it got like that distinct South Carolina accent that's like it's uniquely that area.
Oh yeah,
the image I have. So I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, it's not inaccurate. And there's I mean, as they say here, there's Mayflower money. I mean, that's how Charleston was formed in like 1625 or 30. I should know this, but I mean, it's an old city. It is an old city, and it was one of the places where rice was actually introduced to the United States.
That's where it came from. Hence, winding up in a rice field.
Yeah,
exactly. And where are they now?
That's right. But it's it's absolutely beautiful. Love it. The only downside is hurricanes. You have to watch out for those. But they're coming. So it's not like being in LA in an earthquake and all of a sudden you're just doing this kind of number. Where'd that come from? Oh, we're gonna have another one? When? I don't know.
I feel like, and I've broken it down to the safest place to be is Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. No hurricanes, no tornadoes. No bugs. I think that I've narrowed it down that's the only place that you can avoid like any natural disasters.
I think you're right. Other than extreme heat, other than that, but you can go inside.
I'm a warm weather person, Chris. Like I live in the Midwest, so I hate the cold. I can't believe it exists. I can't believe I've lived here my whole life. Like, and you've lived in Wisconsin. It's a million times worse up there.
Ooh, you ain't kidding. I moved out of there in 1985. I've never lived where there's a winter ever again.
You and Stevie Rochelle. Do you know him?
Right, yeah, Stevie. Yeah, he's from Wisconsin as well. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, big Packers fan. He's moved to LA and never looked back either. So
no.
Chris, I can't tell you, this is like the most fun interview I've done in a long time, and like just to be able to do this with you and deep dive into many topics other than just Kinell, which I did not expect. So that's the mark of a good interview for me.
Excellent.
Yeah. About you?
No, thank you. Great questions. I always appreciate good questions.
Well, it's been great. I want to make sure everybody knows again where they can go get the album, kinellband.bandcamp.com. I don't know if there's a better place. That's the link I've got.
That's a good one for right now. Just I'm trying to keep it like, instead of we're on Instagram and we're on Twitter and we're on Facebook. Just you can go there. You can learn all about the band. You can get the CD if you want an actual copy, or if you want just the downloads, you can get those. And of course, we got the YouTube channel. Just type in Kinell, Take It All. Another place you can find us is RK Ron's Media. It's rfkmedia.com. Take It All is on a sampler for Ron's label. And there's a bunch
Ron
of
Keel,
other,
yeah.
Yep. There's a bunch of other bands on there, one including one being The Fifth, which is Roy Cathy from Cold Sweats Band. And I'm going to be producing their record, hopefully starting here in July, August.
One big happy family, as we call it here in rock and roll. Chris McLernon, thank you so much, sir. Continued success, and we'll talk soon, my man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Thank you. See you. Bye.